Hello, I'm Gill at engVid, and today we have a lesson on some French words which are used in English. Okay, so we have rather a lot of French words in the English language. Some of them are pronounced in a French way, almost with a French accent. Others are not. But the ones I've chosen today are mostly pronounced in quite a French way. Depending on each person, different people might pronounce them slightly differently, but I would say these are more French sounding than some other types of words that come from French. So let's have a look, and I'll explain each one, the meaning, as we go through. And also to explain why do we have French words in English? Well, you may know that in history, in the 11th century, there was a battle, the Battle of Hastings in 1066, between the English and the French, and the French won. So they became the royalty of the country. So and brought a lot of French words into the language. So that's why we have so many French words today. Okay, and all the better for it, I would say. So here we go. So first of all, we have a few words that are a little bit sort of military in meaning, or they're used in a military context. So first of all, reconnaissance. And it can be abbreviated to recce, which is a bit more English sounding, recce. But a reconnaissance means sort of getting to know. So this is where you might go on a reconnaissance trip, whether it's military or just for yourself, to go to an area in advance, just to get an idea of the layout of the place, to familiarize yourself with it for a particular purpose. Maybe you're going there again at a later date for maybe you're, I don't know, going to meet some friends there, and you want to check to see, oh, is there a cafe nearby? Do they have some sports that we could play? Just to see what the place is like so that you can plan ahead a little bit. So that's reconnaissance or a recce. If you say, we're going for a recce, meaning we're going to have a look and get an idea of what the place is like and what's available there. Okay, next one, surveillance. So with a proper French pronunciation, I suppose it would be surveillance, but we have a sort of semi-French-English mixture with this one. So it's surveillance, okay? And that's when you're sort of observing or watching somebody or something to see what happens, kind of observation. It can be for a military purpose, you know, with binoculars, whatever. But it means kind of watching with a purpose to see what people do. Okay, it's like the word survey, to have a look. Right, next one, rendezvous. That's quite French sounding. Rendezvous is the same pronunciation in French. And it just means a meeting. So it's a French word for meeting, rendezvous, okay? Again, in a military sense, perhaps we need to have a rendezvous at 11 o'clock to decide what to do next, that sort of thing, okay? In normal, everyday English, you wouldn't use it very much. You'd say, we need to have a meeting. You would only use it if you were being a bit jokey and saying, oh, I think we need a rendezvous, don't you? And it sounds a bit funny. So it can be used in a light-hearted, humorous way. But normally you'd use the word meeting, right? Espionage. So instead of a hard j at the end, it's j, espionage. So that's the French kind of pronunciation, which just means spying, getting information on another country or something. Or again, it's a bit like surveillance, spying on people to see what they're doing. Espionage. Espion on its own means a spy in French. So espionage is the activity of spying. Right? Camouflage, another j at the end, camouflage, is the kind of uniform with multicolours, maybe green and brown blotches that blend in with the surrounding area. If someone's in a wood or a forest where there are trees, it's mostly perhaps brown and green colours. So the camouflage sort of uniform will blend in with that. Or if you're in snow, in the white snow, a camouflage suit would be all white to blend in with the snow. So it's all about blending in with your surroundings so that people don't notice you. You can hide more easily. Okay. Ricochet, which is more or less the French pronunciation, is if you fire a bullet and it bounces off and then goes in another direction, and people can get hurt if that happens. It's unexpected. It wasn't fired at them, but it goes there and then bounces off and goes in at another angle. So that's a ricochet. Okay. A sortie, again military. If a group of soldiers want to go out and do something somewhere, they go out. To sortie means to go out. Sortir, the French verb to go out. Okay, so a sortie is a going out to somewhere. And then we're looking at some also political words like coup d'état. Is when there's one particular state or government in a country, and then if somebody wants to overthrow that current organisation, they will just by force often just take over and say, sorry, we're in charge now. And there's no sort of democratic election or anything. It's just somebody coming in physically and saying, we're in charge now. So it's a sudden thing that usually happens. And coup, so you can see there's a P on the end of that, but it's not coup. Coup. So in French, that letter would not be pronounced, the P. And also with the T at the end of état, you don't say état, meaning state. So coup means to hit. So hitting the state, overthrowing the current state and replacing it with your own system. Coup d'état. Right, and then following on from that, you get a new regime. And again, we've got the j sound, regime, and you often get a little accent. Oh, you could have an accent on here as well, état. Regime means the current organising government, whoever is in power, and it usually means with a regime that it's not a democratic government. It's come in by force. It's not the people's choice. So, okay. Sabotage, again, sabotage, is when people deliberately do some damage to something. Maybe if it's something to do with transport, the railway. They might damage something on the railway, on the track, so that if a train came along, it might come off the track, fall off the track. So it's quite a dangerous thing to do, but done deliberately to try to cause problems and to hold people up. A lot of this is done in wartime to prevent the enemy from making progress. So sabotage is deliberately damaging something to disrupt the normal running of the transport or whatever it is. Okay, fait accompli. The T is only pronounced because it's followed by an A in the following word. Fait would be pronounced without the T, just on its own, fait. But here, because an A follows, it's fait accompli, meaning a fact which has been accomplished, meaning it's been done, that's done. This can happen sometimes if people decide to cut down a tree in a street, and usually now, especially nowadays, people don't want to cut down trees. They want to keep them because they absorb CO2. They help to keep climate change under control. But if someone decides, right, I'm going to chop that tree down, and they just go and do it, instead of, they would normally, in the UK anyway, they would often have to put in an application to the local council, the local authority, to say, we would like to remove this tree. It could be that the roots of the tree are causing damage to the foundations of a house or something like that, so there's a reason for it. But normally people don't like to see trees being cut down these days. But if someone just decides to do it and they cut it down, then it's too late. You can't say, oh, sorry, you shouldn't have done that. Can you put it back again? No, you can't put it back again once it's done. So that's a fait accompli. It's done and you can't undo it. So that's the meaning of that. Okay, laissez faire. So again, the Z isn't pronounced. Laissez faire means to let, literally to let someone do something. Just let things, what it means is let things just be as they are. It's often used in politics, in government, maybe to do with trade and the economy. You know, people sell things, people buy things, they set the prices, people pay the price. So just let the market forces, you know, allow that to happen. We shouldn't be, you know, saying, oh, you can't charge more than a certain amount for that product. Just let the market forces of supply and demand decide what the price should be, and the government won't interfere. But so that's laissez-faire. If the government isn't going to interfere or try to control it in any way, they're just letting it happen. So it means let it happen. Okay. And then finally on this side, resume or resume. You might get an accent, a little thing like that on the two E's, resume, which means a kind of summary. This is to do with usually employment. If you're applying for a job, you might be asked to send your resume, which is a list of all the things you've done, your educational background, any jobs you've done before, your general interests as well, your skills, all of that, resume. In the UK, we tend to call it a CV. which is Latin, curriculum vitae, which means, vitae meaning life, about your life and a list of what you've done in your life. So we call it a CV in the UK, but I think in USA and Canada, for example, it tends to be called a resume. Okay. Right, so moving on to the second column, a lot of these are more to do with art, visual art, and architecture, that kind of thing. So let's have a look. So collage, and again we've got j at the end. It's not like the word college, where you make a j, harder j sound at the end. This is collage, which is when you stick things onto a surface. The French word coller means to stick. So collage is something like a big sheet of paper or a piece of board, a wooden board or whatever, that you stick. You might stick coloured pieces of paper onto it, or patterns, just to create a visual, combination of shapes and colours. So that's a collage, and you have to use glue or something sticky to put it on so that it will stay on. Okay, and then this one, this is art nouveau. Again, the T isn't pronounced, so it's not art nouveau, although some people might pronounce it that way because it's the same word in English, art. But because we have nouveau going with it, which means new, art nouveau, people might tend to leave off the T sound. It means literally new art, but this is a style of art that was popular in the early 20th century. A particular style, very sort of nice and decorative, with perhaps flowers and leaves. So it's a rather nice style of art used in magazines a lot and book illustrations. Okay, so that's art nouveau. And then we've got an objet d'art. So again, the T of both is not pronounced, objet d'art. So that's just the word object without the C in it. Objet means object in French. And the D apostrophe means of. So it's an object of art, which just means an art object, like a piece of art. Maybe a little sculpture or something, or not even a big sculpture, or an ornament of some sort, something like that, objet d'art. Okay. Then we have silhouette. So this is where you might see in a book illustration human figures and also animals, birds, anything like that. But it's all black and white. So the figure is all in black, and then there's a different, either white in the background or some other colour. So you're only seeing the black outline of the figure. You're not seeing any details. Just as if you were seeing me in outline, and it just completely black against a lighter colour behind, either white or some other colour. So it's a particular style in art. You might see in book illustrations, again, that kind of style. Okay. Panache. If you do something with panache, it means you do it with style. You have a certain good style of doing it. Flair is another word for that. So she performed the part in the play, an actress, with panache. She did it with a great deal of style and flair. Okay, right. Facade, and the little squiggle under the C, a cedilla, is a French thing, to make the C sound like an S, because if it wasn't there it would be facade, but it's facade. So this is an architectural term. In English, it doesn't always have that under the C, and also with typing, I can't always remember what macro code do I use for a C cedilla. I have to look it up, and it takes too much time. So I just type it without. I just put a C. But that's, people are used to that. So this means the front of a building, the facade, when you look at the front of a building, whatever style it's in. It might have columns, it might have some stone carvings on it, decorations, or it could be quite plain. But that's the facade, whatever style it is, what you see. And the front of a building is usually the most important part. It's, like seeing a person's face. That's the building presenting itself. So the facade. And then another architectural term is niche, which it can mean a little sort of, literally, a niche on a building is a little space that's set into the building, and you often get a statue standing inside it. So if I was the statue, the niche would be around me like this, like a little containing space. And metaphorically, it's used if somebody finds that what's the best job for them in life, they find the right profession, and you can say, she's found her niche, that's where she belongs. So that's one quite nice positive way of using this word, niche. But also it started more recently perhaps being used to mean, a little bit, a bit marginal, like people say, that's a bit niche, in a slightly, doubtful way, meaning, that's not mainstream. It's a bit marginal, maybe a style that is a bit unusual and people are not familiar with it, rather than a mainstream style of something, like in music perhaps, mainstream pop. But then somebody maybe invents a new style of music and people aren't really used to it. It's a bit niche, isn't it? But then people do get used to it and it might become more mainstream. So it's all about fashions and what people think is important or relevant or interesting. Okay, right, niche. And then ballet, a particular style of dance. So the ballet, again, no T at the end, pronounced ballet. So the kind of dancing where the dancers dance on the toes, on the points of their toes. Okay, very elegant dancing, very difficult too. Okay, good. And then decor, often with a little accent on the E again, but it can appear without it in English. Decor, if you think of the word decorate, decoration, it's usually to do with your choice of decor in a room. You decide what colour to paint the walls, or you might have wallpaper with a pattern on it. The curtains, whether they're a plain colour or a pattern, how you do the whole thing, put the whole thing together, the furniture, the whole combination, the whole effect of it, your choice of colours and so on, is the decor. right? And then ensuite, this is a very particular term for if you're booking into a hotel and you want to have a bathroom included in your room, as well as having your bedroom. You want to have a bathroom contained within your own private room, not have to go out of your room into some shared bathroom. It's called an ensuite bathroom, and it can refer also to in somebody's home, if they have their own bedroom and a bathroom that's contained within their bedroom. You can say also in someone's house they have an ensuite bathroom. Okay. Right, motif is just another word for a design, a little pattern, maybe this kind of pattern I've got on my blouse, a sort of stylized flower there, like a daisy in 2 colours. You could say that's a motif. Okay. Matinee, again, you may not have the accent on the E, matinee. Matin in French means morning, but this, confusingly, refers to, in the theatre, there's sometimes an afternoon performance of a show, not just in the evening. There may be an afternoon performance of a show for people who prefer to go to the theatre in the daylight, especially in the winter. I think I do. So a matinee performance is actually an afternoon performance, even though matin in French means morning. Okay, right. And then finally, a bouquet, again without the T sound, a bouquet is quite regularly used in English to mean a bunch of flowers. If you send somebody some flowers, it will be a combination of flowers and leaves, probably in a bouquet, and then they take them apart and put them into a vase of water, hopefully, so that they will last a few days, and they can enjoy them. Okay, so that's just a few of many French words in the English language. I hope that's perhaps helped to introduce you to some new vocabulary. And so you might like to do a quiz on this subject. So if you'd like to go to the website, engVid.com, and try the quiz, test your knowledge, that would be great. So I hope you've enjoyed the lesson. Thank you for watching, and see you again soon. Bye.